now had dozens of instances where police have had to be called to stores by signature gatherers who are being harassed, intimidated, and having signature sheets stolen or destroyed. So when I say the proof is in the pudding, it's one thing for police to be called. It's one thing for police to show up. It's one thing for police to take a report. It's one thing for police to make an arrest. But if there isn't action and consequences on the back end, then we're not going to see any of this change. And that is why the story we have for you exclusively today is so utterly disturbing and disappointing to me. So one of the first examples in this latest round of initiatives of the harassment of signature gatherers happened September 24th at the Walmart in Covington. You'll remember this. All we had was a grainy picture that was sent to us saying, hey, someone was arrested at the Covington Walmart for stealing signature forms. And it was, I couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman, frankly, the suspect in the image, but you could see a King County Sheriff's deputy. You could see the person in handcuffs. And this is why it's so important that we do our jobs. We're an opinion show, but we have to have the fundamentals of journalism, and a picture isn't enough and a story isn't enough. We have to go out there and get to the bottom of what really happened. And thank God Nicole has spent the last couple weeks trying to do just that. And let me tell you, it hasn't been easy. We reached out, Nicole reached out, hey, can I get a name of this person? Can I get some information? And they made her go through public records requests just to get a name of someone who was arrested in a police report. We found it very, very odd. Very odd. So that was September 24th. We've been trying ever since then to get additional information, maybe not 2 weeks, about a week and a half, to get additional information on what happened in this case. So Nicole puts in public records requests, and she obtains body camera footage from 2 King County Sheriff's deputies who were called to the scene. So and I'm going to take you through it piece by piece, and you'll know the piece of it that is highly disturbing and disappointing when we get there. It'll be very obvious. So one of the deputies arrives, and they contact the victim, which in this case is the signature gatherer, and he explains what happened.
This is what I recovered. I was right here. I had my canopy up, and the guy was like, hey, man, look what you got going on here. Can I sign the petition? And I handed him the deck, and he just took off running. He took off running that way. Okay. So my immediate reaction was to chase him. First, I grabbed everybody's information. This is important information. We got people's birth dates and addresses on. Yep. So I took off running after the guy, stopped right there. I was parked right there, jumped in my car, whipped it around, and I went over there where I seen him run in between the post office, whatever road that is. Okay. He was over there in the trash can trying to rip it, but he couldn't rip that.
Gotcha, because it's too thick. So he just got the top couple pages on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and good for that guy. Great explanation of what happened, understands and appreciates the fact that people have entrusted him with their sensitive information when they signed those initiatives. So he chased this dude down because he wanted to get the forms back. Not only, and this is very important, not only is this a clear attack on the democratic process, it's voter suppression, but those signature gatherers, the ones who aren't volunteers, this is how they earn a living. Every single one of those signatures represents money in their pocket. And that's how they pay their rent and feed their families. And so when someone destroys them, then they potentially won't get paid for those signatures if they can't find the forms that have been destroyed and show, yes, indeed, these are signatures. And then literally somebody at Let's Go Washington will tape these papers back together so that they can still count the signatures on the forms. It's unreal. So he tells deputies, gives them a description of the suspect. God, you guys, this is about to get wild. I hate being critical of law enforcement. I really do. And that's why this just kills me inside that I have to be today, but here we are. So he gives the deputy a description of the suspect, brown pants, long, male in his 20s, brown pants, like blondish brown hair. And the deputy goes out looking for someone who matches that description and ends up finding someone who matches that description behind the Walmart. Here's that interaction.
You wouldn't have to grab someone's sign and ripped it up?
We just came back from lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you?
I just came back from lunch.
Okay, well, you're being detained right now until I figure out, because you match the description, glasses, long hair, brown pants.
All right.
Come over here, just have a seat. Thank you. All right, 23 won't have one detained.
Copy one.
Since you match the description, I'm just going to read your rights, okay?
Okay.
So Mirandizes him, find out, and this is one of the first bombshells that we didn't know just from the initial report, That young man, his name is Skylar Frosland, and he's an employee of the Walmart. Ah, yes. So he's working at the Walmart, and on his lunch break decides to commit a gross misdemeanor and decides to steal, rip up, and attempt to throw away the evidence of his gross misdemeanor right outside his place of employment. Who in their right mind does that? And then comes back to work thinking he's not going to get in trouble for it, right? So he's telling, deputy says, hey, was this you? You matched the description. He's with his buddy from Walmart. They just say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, we just got back from lunch. So what happens next, and I'm going to just describe it for you really quick. The other deputy brings the victim around the back in his vehicle, and you'll see his little white Fiat 500 in the video. And they've got this Skylar Frosland detained, and they're waiting for a positive identification. So this is the moment where the victim comes around and positively identifies that, yes, that young man is the one who destroyed our signatures. Watch.
Yep, that's him.
Okay, so cool. Skylar, right now you're under arrest. I think what we'll do is we'll kind of put on a show. All right, so I don't think we're actually going to take you physically to jail.
Did you catch that? Did you catch that? So he says, yep, that's him. Listen again.
Yep, that's him.
Okay, so cool. Skylar, right now you're under arrest. I think what we'll do is we'll kind of put on a show. All right, so I don't think we're actually going to take you physically to jail.
Skylar, you're under arrest. I think what we'll do is we'll put on a show. We're not going to take you to jail. As he handcuffs this guy who just committed a gross misdemeanor, but much more than that, interfered with an election, stole sensitive information of voters, voter intimidation, nothing less than that. The deputy says, I think we'll put on a show. And this victim who just ID'd you, he's here, he's watching, so we're going to put on a show and we're going to put you in handcuffs, but we're not going to take you to jail today. How insane is that? And in case you thought, well, maybe that was just sort of, something he was saying to make sure the suspect, calmed down or something. He's got him in cuffs. The other deputy approaches, and they're sort of clearly, debating, well, one of the deputies says to him, hey, will you transfer him? Will you handle the transfer? Which means, will you bring him to jail? And you can kind of hear him talking really quietly because I think that they know their body cameras are rolling in deciding that, hey, maybe this isn't something that's worthy of arresting him over.
Can you transfer it?
I don't know if this is something worthy.
Forward.
Okay. Well, that's a forward thing. I think this is more for the petition here.
Okay.
Skylar's been super cool this whole time.
Good idea.
Yeah.
This is more for the petitioner, he says. Can you play that one more time, Nicole?
Can you transfer it?
I don't know if this is something worthy.
Forward.
Okay. Well, that's a forward thing. I think this is more for the petition here.
Okay.
Skylar's been super cool this whole time.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Skylar's been super cool this whole time. Yeah, except when he committed a crime, undermined elections, and our democratic process. He wasn't super cool then. But because in your 5-minute interaction he's been super cool with you, you're going to put on a show for the petitioner, which is the victim of a crime. Now, all of this aside, when is it ever acceptable to put on a show for a crime victim by putting a suspect in handcuffs if you have no intention whatsoever of arresting them and taking them to jail? In any context, it's obviously inappropriate, right? So here's the other thing, and it shows, my real frustration, and I guarantee this is the first time that this victim is finding out what happened, okay? So he's, identifies a suspect, does what he needs to do. He's done everything he needs to do. He called 911. He chased the person down so he could get, his stolen property back and the evidence back. He tells police what happened. He goes around back. He identifies the suspect. Yes, that's the one who did it. He sees the suspect put into handcuffs. And then one of the deputies does this. They've already agreed in that little conversation, right, that we'll probably just refer this to prosecutors. We're gonna cut him loose, right? We're just putting on a show for the petitioner. One of the deputies has the victim in his white Fiat, asks him, hey, will you go park somewhere else, maybe around the building? Here's that.
Hey, Lou, can you have him park, around? Where do you live at?
Can you play that one more time, Nicole? So the timing here is very important.
Hey, Luke, can you have him park, like, around?
You see him start to drive off.
Where do you live at?
Why do you think that they had him move his vehicle and park around the building? Well, it's because they didn't want him to see them release the suspect who they just put in handcuffs in front of him.
Yeah, So you just, I'll go talk to him and get a statement or anything.
Your social is being released. He was just identified for something, and that was it. Yeah.
Scott, you work here? You said?
Yeah, he works here.
He's my associate. That's your first time getting cuffed?
All right, Skylar.
Laugh it up, boys.
So
Laugh it up.
You received something in the mail.
All for show. All for show. And there's a lot more body camera footage, and this deputy goes inside and he's talking to the Walmart managers, and he's almost trying to suggest to them, hey, have Skylar, just say that this was a joke or a dare or a prank, and not say that it was political. It's crazy, and I won't even go through all of that, but it's almost this suggestion that if you just have him say it was a prank, and it won't be treated as seriously. And there's this moment where one of the deputies, while Skylar is in handcuffs, asks him what happened. And it's very clear that he did it for political reasons. I mean, why else would he do it? Here's that.
So everything's recorded. Okay, what happened?
He was out front being pretty inflammatory.
Okay.
I just didn't like that.
He was being inflammatory. I just didn't like it. I didn't like his words, and I doubt he was being inflammatory. He was just running to initiatives that this Walmart employee didn't agree with. And later on in the body camera footage, the deputy asks his manager, do you know why he would do this? And he says, well, he is gay. And of course, some are painting these initiatives as an attack on the LGBTQ community. So it's very clear he did it for political reasons, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you did it as a joke or a dare or a prank, or if you did it because you're gay and you think this is an attack on your community. The bottom line is it is a crime. It is an attack on democracy. And it's nothing short of voter suppression. So here we have a situation where there have been, and I'll be clear, I'm not even mad at the deputies. I'm annoyed. I think it's unfortunate. It's very clear in the context of this video that they were on their computers Googling whether it was even a crime to do this. There is no reason at this stage, after years of this happening, that the King County Sheriff's Office shouldn't have put out some sort of very clear directive. Hey, we're having a lot of these instances. Here is the RCW on this. It's a gross misdemeanor. Not to mention destruction of property, potentially theft. Hey, this is wrong. We have our eye on this. There should have been a strong message sent from the top out. So I'm not even sure that I'm necessarily mad at the deputies. But I got to tell you, like a knife to the heart, all the work we've been doing to try to raise attention toward the attacks on signature gatherers, Democratic leaders saying, hey, we can't do this. We need to make sure that you refer these cases to law enforcement so these people can be held accountable. And then we've got a deputy on camera saying, hey, man, I know you did what you did, but come over here. We'll just arrest you for show. And I think the saddest part for the victim, and it is a victim, right, is they send him around the corner. They cut this guy loose. And later on in their interactions with the deputies, he's asking, hey, so what's going to happen to him? They don't tell him that they cut him loose. They don't tell the guy who was just victimized that the person who just victimized him is still here at the Walmart working today, and we cut him loose. We just sent you around the corner so you didn't see it. What would have happened if that guy would have wanted to continue gathering signatures at the Walmart? Not even knowing that the guy was, one, an employee of Walmart, and two, was just out back, was still working. Outrageous, but how are we supposed to have confidence now that all of this condemnation from Democrats and from leaders isn't just lip service? Hey, just get him to shut up. Let's just say we condemn it. We don't want it to happen. Let's just say you should call law enforcement, but nothing's really going to happen with it. We haven't, in the last few weeks, heard of any actual concrete cases moving forward against these individuals in the dozens of instances that we've reported. And I'll say of the King County Sheriff, now, for the record, I sent an email, a formal email as a King County citizen and a taxpayer to the sheriff and the chief of the Covington Police Department, which is a King County contract city. And I expressed my disgust and concern with the situation. And I said, this is going to, when it comes out, completely undermine the faith that conservatives in this state have that you're going to enforce the law around these issues without fear or favor. And what's particularly concerning about the King County Sheriff's Office is the sheriff is now a political appointee. The sheriff went from being elected to a political appointee. She serves at the pleasure of Democrats. And she will always, and every sheriff that comes after her, will serve at the pleasure of a Democratic King County executive. And the Democratic Party in Washington State doesn't support these initiatives. The Democratic Party in Washington State and some of its biggest donors have sought to harass lawful signature gatherers, have put out snitch lines to report lawful signature gatherers. Those efforts to track, harass, and report lawful signature gatherers are being funded by two of the largest Democratic donors in the state of Washington, the Washington Education Association and the ACLU. So here you have Democratic leadership, one-party rule. They don't want these initiatives to be successful because they challenge their policies. And then you have the largest donors to the Democratic Party funding efforts to harass signature gatherers. You have those two largest donors that also donate to the campaigns of Attorney General Nick Brown and other Democrats up and down the ticket. So you might have someone like Nick Brown coming out and saying, hey, we condemn this, this isn't right. Well, how about he stops taking money from the Washington Education Association? How about he calls his friends at the WEA and says, hey, stop harassing signature gatherers? How about he doesn't take money from the ACLU? How about he calls his buddies at the ACLU, if he really means it, and says, why are you running hotlines to snitch and track signature gatherers? It's harassment. It's intimidation. You think he's doing that? Not a chance in hell. And so I'd like to believe that the King County Sheriff is going to take this issue seriously and is going to make sure that her deputies know moving forward that, no, we're not arresting these people for show. We don't arrest people for show. And even if Democrats don't want these people arrested, we have to enforce the law without fear or favor. But the truth is that she works at the pleasure of a Democrat. And no Democrats support these initiatives. So how are we supposed to believe that there's any justice here? How are we supposed to believe that all of these arrests aren't for show? How are we supposed to believe that police and deputies are empowered to do their jobs and not be worried about the political implications? Now, in this case with this deputy, I watched all the body camera footage. He didn't even really know what the initiatives were about. As I said, he's on his computer or the other deputy Googling, is this even a crime? They should be more informed, but do I blame them for not knowing every single RCW in the state of Washington? No. Do I believe that sometimes deputies, when they go out and they do their jobs, they have to decide whether an individual instance is worth taking someone to jail, or maybe just you send them a summons, you refer it to prosecutors? Not every crime is murder. Not every crime is rape. And I wouldn't have had an issue if this took place and they said, hey, we're not taking you to jail today, but you're going to get a summons. We're going to refer this case to prosecutors. And they didn't put on the show at all. It's the saying, we're going to put on a show for the signature gatherer so he believes you were arrested. And then we're going to send him around the corner and we're going to cut you loose. So I have zero faith. I have zero faith until we see people convicted of the crimes they've committed over the last month that anything is going to happen with any of this. Because Democratic politicians, they can say the right things, but are they really going to take the steps behind the scenes to make sure that something happens? No, I don't think so. Why would they? Their largest donors, the people who give them the money that keeps them in office and keeps them getting reelected, don't want these initiatives to be successful. They're the ones out there harassing signature gatherers. The Democrats aren't going to do anything about it. And the truth is, in King County, you have a sheriff who is as good as a politician. Essentially, it's a political appointee. And I've heard great things about the sheriff. And I will say, she responded to my email and said, thank you for letting me know about this. I wasn't aware of this. We're going to look into this, etc. So I do appreciate her responding. But at the end of the day, if Democrats don't want something to happen in the state of Washington, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So we can sit here and be happy that police are called and police make arrests or whatever it is. But now I'm left to believe that it's all for show, unless proven otherwise, unless there's actual consequences for this conduct in a court of law.